Hello, it's Toaster Party, and today I'm going to be talking about my picks for what are the best cards from Dominaria United for Modern. So we got the full set spoiler released today, and there's a lot of very powerful cards in this set. But without further ado, let's talk about which ones I think are the best. So starting it off with a split pick for number 5, that being Leaf Crown Visionary and Runevelt Horde Master. The reason I had to split these two is because they're sort of equally good, but equally good in different ways. Leaf Crown Visionary is a better card for the Elves deck than Runevelt Horde Master is, but the difference in why I put them on the list at the same spot is that Elves is a worse deck than Goblins, so they sort of share the same spot as that. Leaf Crown Visionary is a specifically better card, but Runevelt Horde Master is a good card for a better deck. So I feel like it sort of evens out. Let's move on to number 4, Temporary Lockdown. Any piece of sideboard hate that can help deal with Hammer is always appreciated, and Temporary Lockdown is a very good hate piece for Hammer, because it's essentially Portable Hole, but now it's a board nuke. It also hits your permanents, but if you're siding in Temporary Lockdown, you probably weren't having that many small permanents to begin with. Let's move on now to number 3, Voldalion Hex Catcher. So, I put the two Tribal Lords at number 5 together because they were sort of equally as good. The difference with Voldalion Hex Catcher is that it's better than those two. It is a 1/1 with Flash that gives all your other merfolk +1/+1. Its upside, though, is that you can sacrifice a merfolk and counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. This card is incredibly powerful. You can vial in additional merfolk and use them as counter magic to be able to keep up with your game plan, but not have to actually spend any mana to start countering your opponent's stuff. You, of course, eventually will run out of resources, but Merfolk has plenty of ways to keep drawing cards, making sure that you always have some form of interaction to stop your opponents from trying to combo off. This card is incredibly powerful and will definitely push Merfolk into being a lot more playable. Let's move on to number 2, Founding the Third Path. This one's a little bit hard to evaluate because there's a lot of different instants and sorceries that you can play this with. The first thing I thought of was putting it in some sort of Prowess or Pyromancer's Ascension combo deck, but there's probably a lot of other places that this card will see play in, because it is a 2-drop card advantage investment piece, but you don't actually have to waste your turn because you do get to immediately cast the instant or sorcery from your hand to be able to start the advantage thing rolling. And also being able to exile target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to then cast a copy is incredibly powerful. Think about using this on something like Expressive Iteration or Manamorphose, where it's just sort of more free cards. I can't think of every single use that this card could have, and there's probably something even more busted that I'm not thinking about that this card could be used in. So that's why I only keep it at number 2. But let's move on to number 1, Leyline Binding. So Leyline Binding is a 6-drop enchantment with Flash with Domain that says, this spell costs 1 generic less to cast for each basic land type among lands you control. And when this card enters the battlefield, exit target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Leyline Binding leaves the battlefield. So this card is a instant speed Oblivion Ring that can come down for only 1 and can be played in Cascade decks. All they really need to do is splash something like a Triome or something, or additional duels that puts them into sort of 5-color, but not really. They could just play the additional land types just to get this card out. With the power of fetch lands, you can be Oblivion Ringing for 1 on turn 2. This is premium removal in a deck that was, well, decks that were sort of lacking in it. So this card is going to push a lot of different Cascade decks, namely probably Rhinos and Glimpse. Probably not so much Living End because they're a bit creature reliant, but those decks were already powerful as is, and this card just makes them even better. Well, hope you all enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you all have an excellent day.